What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. And we are bumping along to a new position here. And since we're going to be talking about this tonight for the Hawks Nest stream, I thought we'd just go ahead and skip over to quarterback. Honestly, at this point, the Seahawks have done such an extensive job addressing their needs in free agency that once you clear left guard out of the way, you could talk about anything. It's all kind of the same, right? We did the interior offensive line, and while we are going to go back and talk more about positions like linebacker and defensive line where we might need a little bit more, really, at this point, I kind of feel like we could go any direction and you could make an equally good case that we need more there. So let's do quarterback. Quarterback's fun anyway. Quarterback's always intriguing, and honestly, the Seahawks are not married to anything at the quarterback position long term right now. Geno Smith is an older quarterback, although I'm not that worried about his age. And he's on a contract where it would be pretty easy to get out from under his deal next year if he doesn't have some superlative season. Sam Howell is intriguing, but ultimately there's a lot between him and becoming a quality NFL quarterback. And we also have basically no financial commitment to him, so I don't think we're married to him. Even this season, you could easily trade him in the next couple months. You could cut him in the next couple months, and yeah, it looks bad because you traded for him, but realistically, the financial commitment is basically nil. So if that happens, I'm not going to be blown away. And even if you push all that stuff to the side, a team can carry more than two quarterbacks. You can carry three. Teams do it. Not as often as they used to. Teams do carry three quarterbacks. So you put it all together, and I do think quarterback is a position worth discussing, even though I will admit, I think it's unlikely the Seahawks do anything here. I think that they're going to go into this season, Geno starting, Howell backing him up, and they'll just leave it at that. I do think that they are leaving the door open to draft a quarterback that Schneider really likes, but they also know that it's unlikely they get a chance to draft a quarterback that John really likes. So they're hedging their bet with the Sam Howell trade, which is why I was relatively okay with that trade. All right, so all that being said, let's take a look at some quarterbacks here. These, obviously, the first few are players that we have no chance of drafting, but if you were to talk about quarterbacks in this class without talking about some of the top quarterbacks in the draft, you're not doing it right. Like, how can you talk about quarterback prospects in this draft and not talk about Caleb Williams? It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to go through the motions here, but I harbor no illusions that the Seahawks are going to be able to draft Caleb Williams. That is not happening. But USC, 22 years old, 6'1", 214 pounds, which is really his one shortcoming, his physical measurables. He's not very tall. He's not very big. 32-inch arms, 9 3/4-inch hands. Every big board has him in the top two, except Walter Football. They have him third. And the mock draft database currently has him number one. So he is the top prospect in this draft. Played a lot of football for USC over the last 2 years. He did probably play better in 2022. Had more yards, more touchdowns, more rushing yards. Better team. Lost some guys to the NFL from 2022 to 2023, and there was a fall off. But I don't feel like it's a reflection on him, you know? I don't feel like he was a different player. I just feel like he was in a worse circumstance. Completion percentage went up, which was nice. But hey, the production is quality, man. The production is great. So, what makes Caleb Williams such a great prospect? I mean, you watch him play, it's easy to figure out. He's got a cannon arm. He can make all the throws. The ball just jumps out of his hand. It's the same way the ball would jump out of the hand of a John Elway or an Andrew Luck. The ball just seems to like fly out of there like it's a Nerf ball. And that's something that you don't see every day. That's something that you can't really teach, right? Either you have it or you don't. So he's got the cannon arm. His escapability is off the charts. I watched a decent amount of Caleb Williams over the last 2 years just as a Huskies fan, and he's an absolute Jedi in the pocket. The way he's able to evade pressure, the way he's able to get away from the blitz, the way he's able to get away from the pass rush and still make a play off platform, off script, off everything. It is it's wild the stuff that he can do. And obviously, there's going to be a limit to how effective that is in the NFL, and you don't want your whole game to be based off of that. But his ability to take a bad play and turn it into a good play just with his pocket wizardry is immeasurable, I think. His ability to duck out of pressure, dodge a couple pass rushers, and then make some crazy throw sidearm or, jumping backwards or off his feet or off balance, off platform, off the charts. Nothing bad to say about him there. He can extend the play with his legs. He can also make plays with his legs. He had almost 400 rushing yards in 2022. Remember, college football does that stupid thing where they subtract rushing yards for your sacks. So his actual ability to make plays with his legs is even better than that looks. His red zone efficiency over the last couple years is basically perfect. I think he's got like 46 touchdowns and 1 interception in the red zone over the last 2 years. So when he smells the end zone, he gets in there. Honestly, while USC does have a great system for quarterbacks, they didn't really have great talent around Caleb in college, and some of that talent left when they went from 2022 to 2023, like Jordan Addison left. So he succeeded without having great stuff around him, and that includes the defense, by the way. That USC defense was embarrassing, and Caleb had to overcome it, and in a lot of games he did. Sometimes he didn't, but he had a lot to overcome at USC with that defense and with the stuff they gave around him. About the only thing that he had in his favor at USC was Lincoln Riley, a coach who can scheme up a mean offensive game plan. So, great stuff about Caleb for sure. Concerns would be he's on the smaller side, 6'1", 214 pounds. You'd like to see at least a little bit more. I don't think it's like he doesn't really look like a Russell Wilson or Baker Mayfield type, but he's only a little bit taller than those guys. You have to be a little bit concerned about that. How good will he be on script, I think, will be the big determining factor in whether or not he reaches his potential in the NFL. Because as we've learned with Russell Wilson, when you make all your plays off script and you lose the ability to consistently make plays on script, you can't make up for that. Like, the off script stuff is great, but it needs to supplement something bigger and better. And I think we saw with the development of Russell Wilson over the last several years that when you lose that, there's no making up for it. The off-script stuff makes highlight reels, and it's fun, and it helps, but you need to be able to play on script. You need to be able to play within an offense, and Caleb needs to show that he can do that when he gets to the next level. He does have a tendency to play hero ball. I think a big reason why is because in college his team was not good, and he felt like he had to do everything or else they weren't going to win any games. So sometimes he will, like for instance, have the opportunity to scramble for a 7-yard gain, but he'll chuck it into double coverage 40 yards down the field because he's like, I got to go make this big play. I got to make this big play or else we're not going to win. 7 yards is not doing it for me. I need to go get a big play here. I see an opportunity, I'm taking it, even though the much better opportunity is right in front of me. So there is some hero ball stuff. He sometimes gets a little slow going through his progressions. He is somebody who depends more on his physical talent than his mental ability to rule the game. And I think the character stuff is way overblown, but I did want to briefly mention it. Not going to go into it further than that, but suffice to say, some people are a little worried about him, and I'm not. But if you are, then I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm just here to tell you that it's a small piece of the puzzle compared to the big picture that is Caleb Williams. So to me, he's generational or borderline generational. I'd put him up there with guys like Andrew Luck, guys like Trevor Lawrence, and he's got pretty much everything that you could want. The only thing that remains to be seen is, can he play within the context of an organized and balanced offense? He can do the superhero stuff when he's the only really good player on the team and they just need him to make every play. But what happens when he's on a normal team and he just needs to execute within the offense and do things normally? And you would think he'd be able to do it. I like his chances. I think that he'll be able to do it, but he needs to prove it. That's the only thing that I see holding him back. Everything else is here. The mobility, the agility, The pocket presence, the awareness, the arm, everything else is there. Just needs to figure that last part out. So to me, he is a slam dunk #1 overall pick. To me, he is clearly the best quarterback in this draft and the best quarterback prospect we've seen since at least Trevor Lawrence. And if he's better than Trevor Lawrence, which I suspect he is, then you got to go pretty far back to find a quarterback who is as good as Caleb, I think. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. We looked at one guy, but we needed to spend some time on him because he is so unique, he is so fun, and he is so good. We're going to look at some other quarterbacks a little bit later today, and yeah, we'll talk a lot about quarterbacks tonight, by the way, so get ready for that. But see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think of Caleb below.